We're on the same
When I
side.
woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
One about the past and one about the future.
Welcome back to Draftvice. It is I am Walter. This is Harry the Van Ness. I am Walter Teptich. We are at the Draftvice. And if you want, you can follow the podcast at Draftvice on Twitter, at Draftvice_football on Instagram. You can follow me at Brojo Death Punch. That's BROJO. Death is in the end of life, and punch, like that delicious drink.
And you can follow me on Instagram at Harry Van Ness. Harry is in the Potter, Van as a thing I was kidnapped in, and Ness as in Loch Ness Monster.
There you go. So yeah, we are back at the Draftvice, and it is now like the we're talking 2020 season already, folks. We're going really futures on this, right?
We have a 2020 vision.
And we can looking back. No, we're looking forward. 2020 forward, folks.
Yes.
We're going to talk about some of these teams, two teams in particular, the Washington Redskins with their new head coach, Rivera, and the
New York Jets with our unfortunately still head coach, Adam Gase.
You could tell that he's a lover of Adam the Gase.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, we got the Washington Redskins and the New York Jets. Let's talk about the New York Jets first. They're going into 2020, right? They got rid of McCagnon last year. They got Joe Douglas now, he's got a background of being on the Eagles and the Ravens and working in their organizations, and he's shown an affinity for offensive linemen, right? And you can tell that team right now, bad offensive line. But he tried. He got in late, right? He did not have the opportunity, I think, to set this organization on its path just yet. So it's his first year handling the draft. He is handling the cap, the salary cap. Unfortunately, Mike McCagnon's kind of put you guys in a pickle, gave Tremaine Johnson a lot of money, a lot of guaranteed money.
Yep.
So we're going to get into that right now. You guys have $65,319,000 in cap space, right? That doesn't. It sounds like a lot of money, right? If I had $65 million, man, what I could do with $65 million? There aren't enough hookers in the world. There's not enough bunny ranches I could build. There's not an island I could buy. $65 million.
Not enough cocaine to ski on.
No. Not enough crystal meth to crystal methatize.
Oh, you could get a fuck ton of meth with $65 million.
Right. All right, so $65 million sounds like a lot. That's not a lot of star talent, though, you can grab with $65 million, right? But it's weird because it's not a very talented roster with $65 million, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. There's a lot of, like, dead cap and contracts that are still holding them up. Again, like I said, Tremaine Johnson. Now, you guys can cut Tremaine Johnson. He'll be a $13 million dead cap hit. So you do get like a $3 million of relief, so he might be a valuable one to cut. Depends on how the team feels about him, right? He didn't really seem to play very well at the end of the year. They didn't seem very enamored by him. You guys might be able to get away with him, getting rid of him if you trade him. He might be one of those contracts. I didn't get to check that one out as far as if it's a tradable contract or not. Because here's the thing: when you have dead cap, right, which means that they signed you to a signing bonus, and it's prorated over the course of your basically when you sign a contract, you get what's called a signing bonus, and in salary cap terms, you can put that over the span of the contract, right? So say he signed a $12 million a year contract with also $12 million in signing bonus. He gets that $12 million of the signing bonus up front, but it's prorated over the contract as far as salary cap goes, right? It means that it's like, hey, it's say it's $12 million signing bonus over 4 years. That means $3 million a year is on the contract that's dead cap. If you cut the guy, though, it accelerates, right? So if you cut him tomorrow, all that goes onto the cap, right? So with Tremaine Johnson, if they cut him, they still get about $3 million of relief. Also, a lot of that, they might get a little bit more back if he signs with somewhere else and signs a cheap contract. He hasn't really played well for you guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good move.
I think it's an interesting move. They think they can get more out of him. They might keep him. They might trade him. A couple of other guys, though. You have Quincy Enunwa, another guy with $5 million in dead cap, but give you about $2 million of savings.
Yeah. Thing is with Enunwa, he's good when he's on the field, but he has just not been able to stay healthy the past few years.
He's been injured, hurts his neck like every other year. I feel bad for the guy. He's like that slot slash tight end.
He's got the hands of the receiver and the body of a tight end.
Good blocker. Yeah. A very unique specimen. I like him as a player. Kind of like one of those guys that Bill Belichick would probably love to have, right? Or Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan would probably love having that kind of a dude. So a guy that we talked about, a guy we were going to talk about, right? He's an offensive lineman. We talked about your team needing offensive line. We talked about the Jets. They're in dire need of offensive line. But this guy has not played that well, right?
Nope.
He's a Brian Winters, right? He was born in the summer, but his name is Winters. I actually don't know when he was born. I don't have his birth date on the paper that we're looking at.
We should look it up later.
But he is $7.2 million in cap space, right? Now, if you're trying to go ahead and sign a star player, trying to get a better offensive lineman, a guy who's in free agency, like a Brandon Sheriff, perfect guy to cut, right? First off, Brandon Sheriff, we're going to talk about, the Washington Redskins coming up on free agency. You can go ahead, you can grab him, and you'll cut Winters and $7 million of cap savings. So you're basically getting a wash at $7 million. So talking about Brandon, that's $7.2 million. You guys already have $65 million, so I'll give you up to $72 million just from cutting him. And then you got some smaller guys. There's not a lot of big contracts on your roster. A lot of it's dead cap, man.
Yep.
A lot of guys who they're just taking up space. Just a bunch of chunky contracts. Guys are 7 and 9, so you're picking 11 or 12.
Yeah.
So you guys are stuck, right? You guys are you got to get an offensive lineman. Unfortunately, some offensive linemen who were expected to declare did not declare, right? Alex Leatherwood, Alabama, good left tackle, he went back, right? There's 3 star guys that are potentially going to be in this draft at tackle. There's Jedrick Wills, there's the Tristan Wirfs, there is also the Georgia tackle Andrew Thomas, right?
Right.
Big left tackle. These guys are good, man. I like them. Jedrick Willis is amazing. He's really mostly played right tackle for Alabama. So you're picking in a weird spot where they might not fall to you. So you guys got to be prepared, right? You guys have Kelvin Beachum coming up on free agent contract. You guys have Robbie Anderson going into free agency. There's somebody else. Alex Lewis, another one, a guard going into free agency. He's played okay for you guys. He wasn't amazing, wasn't bad. So, and that was a guy that Joe Douglas brought in on a trade. I could see Joe Douglas wanting to keep him, get rid of Brian Winters. So I can see that going forward. You guys need center help. You guys need tackle help. You guys basically need help.
Everywhere on the offensive line, we need something.
It's a weird year for centers. It depends on who. I know Creed Humphrey said he's going back to Oklahoma. Big name to look forward to in this draft is Tyler Biadasz. Yep, Washington guy. There's Christian Ruiz, another big name that's going to be floated around. He's going to probably climb the ranks as it goes. Most people haven't probably heard his name yet. So a lot of good offensive linemen in this class. There's a lot of guys you'll probably get in the second round. Mekhi Becton probably going to be a little bit later than the Jets pick. They might take him. He's a Hulk, man. He's a big one. So going into free agency, there's a couple of guys potentially leaving. Said Kelvin Beachum, Robbie Anderson, Alex Lewis. Any of those guys you interested in re-signing as a fan of that team?
I'd probably definitely Robbie Anderson, but the thing is, we also need to look about re-sign Jamal Adams. That should be our number one priority for the next year or two, making sure that guy's a Jet for life. And I'd love to keep Robbie Anderson. I think he's one of the more underrated deep threats in the league. But
he's got speed, man.
Yeah, but if you had to choose between one of those two guys, you're gonna pick Jamal Adams. And if you could get get a good pick or something out of Robbie Anderson, and he's not gonna sign for the right price, I say pull the trigger and do it.
Well, they can't trade him.
Robbie, oh yeah, that's
he's
right.
He's coming up on free agency.
That's right.
But they can't. Well, they can hit him with a tag. I don't know if they're going to really. I don't think they're interested in franchise tagging him because he wants to sign for less than the franchise tag. I think he's looking around 10 to 14 million. I think he's eager. He's interested in coming back, but he wants to see what the market is. So I think there's a potential that they get him back. You're right. He's a good deep threat. I don't know if the Jets can afford losing another receiver and a guy who works well with your quarterback.
True, because
you guys don't have very many weapons. You're picking in a good spot. There are a lot of receivers in this draft. This is a good receiver draft.
Jerry Jeudy,
CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs. Penn State guy, Laviska Shenault. There's so many guys who are coming out this year. I cannot wait to break down all the receivers this year coming into the draft. And boy, the Jets. But I think you're probably gonna be able to get a guy in the second round. If your O lineman isn't there in the first round, I think Jerry Jeudy could be there.
Yeah.
And you guys get Jerry Jeudy, That's you basically got Amari Cooper 2.0,
Yep.
3.0, and Calvin Ridley.
But this year, it's not. I remember last year was really deep with receivers. This year, not so much because guys.
Oh, dude, it's a deep year. It's deeper than last, and it's more top heavy too. It's like there's like 4 or 5 guys can go in the first round. T. Higgins as well, another guy. Yeah, it's a good year to be picking a receiver, man. It's a very good year. You're gonna get guys who fall down to the second round. Tyler Johnson.
Well, last year, like both my boys from Ole Miss, Metcalf and Brown, ended up going to the second round. Both those guys ended up getting what I know Brown got.
They were good.
Yeah.
I like them. Now, I think Brown was always a top. Like people were talking about him as a top 50 guy. I don't think there was like some rumblings last year about him being a first round pick, but dude, I liked him. I liked him coming out. I kind of felt like a lot of times I think it's become more of the style. Unless the guys you were guaranteed getting a day one starter as far as receiver goes, and there's very few of them.
Yeah.
I don't think they like taking them in the first round anymore. You look, a lot of second round receivers do a lot better. A lot of day 2 receivers do a lot better. Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown been doing a lot better than the guys drafted earlier in previous years, man. So I don't know. I think you're gonna have some opportunity in this draft. But again, going into free agency, you guys got to pick some right guys.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys coming up in free agency you guys can target. Not even guys who will be expensive either. You got a Connor McGovern, right, of the Denver Broncos. He's played pretty well this year. There's Matt Skura of the Ravens. He, you've seen how well the Ravens' offensive line has been. They don't always re-sign their own guys. A lot of their centers they let walk. So Matt Skura is a guy to keep an eye on. Ravens guy and a guy who Joe Douglas probably knows very well.
Yes.
There's Brendan Sheriff. I was talking about him, star guard. Right, you get some big beefy guys in the interior O-line. Get some hog mollies. Now he might re-sign with the team we're talking about in the second half of this, but he's a good guard, man. And he was drafted high. He's played very well. He's probably the best guy on the Washington O-line when Trent Williams isn't there. So, and there's also a couple of cheaper guys like Steven Wisniewski. I don't get why he doesn't land anywhere very often. Right, he's constantly like. He's that guy. He's like the center version of Trey Boston, right? He goes into free agency. Nobody wants him. They pick him up like right around the season start. He plays backup. He plays for somebody. He ends up doing well. And then people go like, oh, we forgot about that guy. But he ends up playing pretty well at guard and center. So Steven Wisniewski, a guy I think they should keep an eye on. I don't know if they'll actually pick him up. He's very another Eagles guy, though. Eagles. He was on the Eagles as a backup for quite a while. Played for the Eagles a bit. And I think he was on the Super Bowl team. If you're looking for a right tackle, there's Marcus Gilbert, former Pittsburgh guy. Again, you guys are looking for O-line. I think that you guys got really 2 things you got to do. Your defense has been playing pretty solid, right? You guys got Quinn Williams. You guys do need pass rush, but like at this point, man, honestly, where you guys are drafting, I don't see a pass rusher that's probably going to be there. You guys probably going to be better off doing kind of what you do is get man corners, try to play a lot of man coverage and blitz a lot, kind of do what the Baltimore Ravens are doing. Yeah. It's a good strategy. Like, you know what it is? My feelings on everything, the pass rush versus coverage debate is you just got to commit, right? You got to get the guys and you got to commit to your scheme and you got to develop and get the people that fit your system, right? So you saw it with Baltimore and with the Patriots. Patriots not a star pass rusher, right? But they had a great defense this year.
Oh, hell yeah.
Same thing with Baltimore. They we'll find out this week we're probably airing already after the game, but Baltimore versus the Tennessee Titans. That game is going to be fun. Get the Minnesota Vikings, the new man of the Minnesota Vikings too. Yeah. Playing the San Francisco 49ers. Who we're going to be hearing this afterwards, but who do you have in these games? These first 2 games.
I'm picking both home teams taking the 2 games today. Baltimore
Ravens and the Minnesota Vikings. Baltimore Ravens 49ers, yes. Sorry, yeah. Trying to get people to say Minnesota Vikings. Everybody's against the Minnesota. I don't want to see the Minnesota Vikings win.
Oh, I'd like to see that too because I want Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl for the NFC, and their biggest roadblock are the 49ers.
That's true. So and they've beaten the Minnesota Vikings like every time they hang out with them. They're just like, you little bastards, you get out of our way. They know how to handle them. They spanked them like twice already. Come on. What about Green Bay versus Seattle?
Oh, I'm picking Green Bay.
I'm rooting for Green Bay. I'm picking Green Bay. Seattle though could always upset. I was rooting for Seattle in the last game that they were playing. I love Seattle sometimes too.
No, Russell Wilson's an easy guy to root for.
Yeah. And I find it weird that like now like Aaron Rodgers is the guy everybody hates. It's like you know what?
Yeah, but I love Aaron Rodgers. Like I'll admit he's probably an asshole, but he's a great player, and there's no pro athlete in any sport I love watching play more than Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He can always win the game. That's the best part about Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, we took this nice little playoff break in the middle of our Jets discussion, but I think it's a good idea. And now everybody's a Jets fan. We'll talk a little about what we thought about who we think we can make it into the next spot. What's the other team? Oh, and then it's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Texans.
I'm picking an upset for that one. I think
Texans
are going to beat them. I do.
Wow.
Like
it's possible.
After seeing that run by Deshaun Watson last week, I think he's got something special with them. He's going to upset the Chiefs.
He's willing to go ahead. He just bowled over multiple defenders in that one run, man. It was a good game. I like that Buffalo Texans game. That was a good week. Wild card weekend this year was a good weekend. It was. You had the Buffalo Bills versus the Texans. That was an exciting game.
You got the Patriots losing, which is always a good thing.
That was a weird game. That was probably the least exciting of them all, too.
Yeah.
Just a lot of running by Derrick Henry. He's just getting his cardio in so he could be a thinner athlete next year.
Going for like 2015 Alabama Heisman Derrick Henry form.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings upsetting the Saints.
I actually picked the Vikings to win that game. Like I remember I was watching that overtime. I'm like, Dad, watch these cousins. He's gonna just throw it up to Kyle Rudolph and they're gonna win. Sure as shit, that's what happened.
Dude, that was a weird one. That was a weird game. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. I was a little shocked by that, and they handedly beat the Saints. I was kind of hoping Drew Brees would make it to another Super Bowl. So, what was the other game last weekend?
The other one, it was Philly Seattle.
McCown tearing his hamstring, but still playing the whole game.
I love Josh McCown. He's a good
former every other team in the NFL basically.
He will make a great quarterback coach one of these days. Probably next year if he wants.
He's going to be a head coach
sooner or later, but
wants. I think he's going to wait until his kids are done with high school.
Yeah,
then he'll go ahead.
I could definitely see that, but he was a great mentor for Sam Darnold when he was a rookie, and I've heard nothing but good things about Josh McCown.
Everywhere, I follow the Tomahawk show with Joe Thomas and Andrew Hawkins. They played with him. They're big fans of him. He's a good player, and he's a very good guy. I can't wait to see him as a head coach in the NFL. Yeah. So yeah, and it was a fun game to watch a little bit. I was shocked that Philly kept it with Seattle so well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get back to the Jets, right?
All right, let's do it.
All right, well, we had to take a break. You know what it is when you talk about the Jets and the Redskins. You need a breather.
Yeah, enough of respectable NFL franchises. Let's get back to the Jets.
Yeah, so Alex Lewis had a solid but uninspirable season. Yeah. I think they're going to probably bring him back. They need to invest multiple assets in fixing this offensive line. Yeah. Sorry. They don't have any star corners. Other than Tremaine Johnson, who's just an albatross of a fucking contract.
Yeah.
But they don't have any star players on that team as far as the backs go outside of Jamal Adams.
Marcus May is a great.
That's true. Yeah, I know he's played well. Brian Poole, they have to get him back in the room. That's another guy who's going to be a free agent this year. Good corner that played well for you guys. Former Falcons corner. I think that's a guy they have to get back in.
Yeah.
Give him a bit of an extension. And like I said, we were saying before, there's a very, very clear needs for the Jets. It's not a hard team to figure out, right? They're not high-end quality defensive backs, not a lot of pass rush. There's just holes all over the roster. O-line is trash. The offensive weapons are meh. Maybe Herndon actually plays this year. Crowder played well.
He did.
Hopefully
he was a good security blanket for Sam Darnold this year. Just like when he needed a complete pass, gain a few yards, Jamison Crowder was the guy to go to.
If they're looking to get pass rush, might I suggest Shaq Barrett?
Yeah, maybe.
Former Tampa Bay and former Denver Bronco. Jason Pierre-Paul, bring him back to New York. He played pretty well this year.
Let's go for 3 more fingers, baby.
That's all he needs, apparently, to go ahead and get some pass rush. He's played. Him and Shaq Barrett have been Tampa Bay never had a good rusher, and they have 2 now.
Yeah.
And they're both going into free agency. Just a heads up for anybody shopping for pass rush. Any thoughts on what else the Jets have to do going into this offseason, or should we move on?
Well, I did mention before
head coach?
Well, no, not the head coach. Making Jamal Adams a Jet for life should be our number 1 priority. And also, I think we should potentially look into getting a backup QB. Everybody who's ever followed me on Twitter or listened to this podcast before, I have issues with Sam Darnold, but I've accepted he's going to be our quarterback for a couple of years.
He could even be your left tackle.
Might as well.
He's built like one.
Yeah. But no, we need a backup quarterback in case like something horrible, like another mono incident or whatever, somebody who could win us a game or two.
I don't think you can get mono twice. I think it's the one benefit about getting mono.
Yeah, true. But I'm thinking maybe like sign somebody who's maybe who's maybe just maybe been overlooked but could be a good NFL style backup, like Trayvon Boykin. He was an undrafted free agent for the Seahawks a few years ago. He was awesome at TCU, but had a few off-field issues. Maybe bring him in as a backup QB in case.
Well, it's a good thing is they could probably scout the XFL, right? So the
yeah.
XFL, although has been blocking players from now who are currently signed with the XFL from interviewing with and signing with. It happened with what's his name, Josh Johnson.
Oh yeah.
He's been all over the league. He was on the Redskins last year when Alex Smith went down.
Oh, he was.
But he's in the XFL now, and he went to go. Who was trying to sign him? There was a team that was trying to sign him, and they got Josh Johnson blocked, if you will. So, but I think what it is, they didn't want to lose players at this point. Now that's going to risk them losing players later on. People aren't going to sign with the XFL if they think they can't get a contract in the NFL. Also, who's his agent, right? Like he should have known that better before getting that contract done. So. But it is a good time to start scouting some of those guys if they are able to play next year, be able to pull a couple of, a potential backup. We saw it with the AAF last year.
Yeah, Alliance of American Football, yeah.
And, well, that's how the Garrett Gilbert backup on the Browns got found out. There's a lot of guys who circled back into the NFL because of the AAF. So let's Jets, you guys got a lot of problems. But I like how Greg Williams coached. You got your defense this year.
Yeah.
And I thought he's been a good coach. He's a good defensive coordinator.
He should have been the head coach, but
unfortunately he's got some bad juju jumungo in the NFL.
Thank you, Bounty Gate.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever getting a head coaching job ever again.
Too.
At least not full time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I don't know where we're going to get to pay attention to that their off season because again, you guys have some glaring holes.
Yeah.
Team that has some interesting setup. Team with a new head coach. The Washington Redskins picking 2 overall. With Ron Rivera as their head coach. This team is a little bit in salary cap hell. They only have like $39 million. That's not a lot to go into free agency with. Because also you want to keep about $10 million or so for the regular season. Right? Because, people get injured. You got to sign a backup. Sign a street free agent. So... or you do a trade mid-season. So they kind of look at this like they don't have very much room to finagle with it. What they can do, though, right? They got Trent Williams. We talked previously, hey, maybe Ron Rivera comes in, gets Trent Williams to come in. If they don't, though, first off, Trent Williams can do 2 things for you. 1, you can trade him and get a pick. 2, Trent Williams has $12.5 million of savings if you get rid of him. That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
That is a boatload of money. That is a real player. That is good money. You could trade him and get a pick. That's almost like getting double, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you get a second rounder for Trent Williams and a player and a free agent and another pick. Dude, I think they could do it. I think if they can't get Trent Williams to come into the building and be their left tackle, trade him and get some real value. And that was what I was saying last year. Another guy who they can cut, who's a lot of money.
Been a disappointment ever since he came to Washington.
But his former head coach is there, Mr. Josh Norman.
That is true.
Yeah, so Josh Norman plays very much better in zone than he does in man. But I also just don't. He's just been slow. He was always slow, but he's just I don't know what's going on with him. He just hasn't played well. Keep in mind, I was never a fan of their defensive coordinator up to before Ron Rivera was there. But again, they can get $12.5 million by cutting Josh Norman. Between him and Trent Williams, you are now got $25 million more in cap space, right? That's a lot of money. Another guy to pay attention to, Alex Smith, right? Alex Smith, albatross of a contract. They can't cut him. It's going to kill them if they cut him. But what they can do is they can trade him. and it'll give him a little bit of relief for the time being. He's got a lot of guarantees in his contract, but again, another guy who maybe they can get a pick out of him, or maybe they can work a deal with another team.
Is Alex Smith going to be healthy enough to play this year? Or?
I think that's the theory.
Oh,
that's
shit.
a theory, though. Depends on how Ron Rivera feels about him and Dwayne Haskins, right?
Sorry, digress a little bit, but fun fact: the day Alex Smith hurt his knee was actually like the same date that Joe Theismann had the leg injury.
Yeah, I know.
So they should.
And it's the same exact injury too, pretty much.
So like Redskins should just never play on that date ever again. Like
another guy who Redskins can cut. Another famous guy. Big fantasy target in a lot of drafts for several years, and for some people's sorrow. Big PPR guy, Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed, $8.5 million in cap savings, right? Dude, now you've added on almost doubled your cap, right? Because Jordan Reed's not been healthy. Jordan Reed's concussed. He's got no hamstrings. He's got no groin. This guy's basically a robot. Which you think robots are good in the NFL, right? Like if they could recreate everything with a robot.
We could build him and make him better.
Yeah, I gotta maybe clone him.
Yes. The $8.5 million man.
There you go. $8.5 million clears up that cap. Now you got about $33 million freed up with those three guys. That's a lot of that's a lot. You just doubled your cap. You could probably go ahead, pick up some new guys, sign some free agents. Guys that are potential, or sign some of your own guys, like this potential guy leaving, who I've mentioned before for the Jets, Brandon Scherf.
Yeah.
Right? Good guard, great guard, all-pro guard some years ago, Pro Bowler. He is good, and they need to re-sign him. That will at least keep some order on the offensive line, and I think he's interested in coming back to Washington. He's probably the only guy who likes being in Washington, to be honest. Vernon Davis is leaving. Chris Thompson's going to be a free agent. Nate Orchard. Nate Orchard's a nobody. Nobody gives a fuck about Nate Orchard. There's also Adrian Peterson they can cut for $2.5 million. Man. That's an interesting one. How do they feel about Darius Geis? Because that extra $2.5 million can mean a lot.
True. The thing is, like Adrian Peterson at like 30-something years old, he's been able to have a productive season despite having like a garbage offensive line, though. So.
That man is a god.
He is.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what deal he made. But, like, Frank Gore should talk to him.
Yeah, like, he destroyed his knee and then had, like, a 2,000-yard season the next freaking year.
He's been counted out so many times. He is the best. He is a future Hall of Famer, even though some previous guests on this podcast might think otherwise.
Some people think he's not going to be a Hall of Famer.
I think that guy was just trolling.
Okay.
But, yeah, so I think Sheriff you almost have to re-sign. I don't think you have to re-sign Vernon Davis. Another guy, though, Donald Penn, right?
Yeah.
Signed with them late last year. Played actually kind of solid for him. Wasn't a big contract either. And Donald Penn, good left tackle. If they can't get Trent Williams back, good serviceable guy. Give them time to get a guy in the draft. Or free agency, again. Or trade. So, again, they're picking second. I think everybody already has their pick set up. Chase Young. Unless they are getting a draft haul to trade down, they are drafting Chase Young, pass rusher out of Ohio State.
Yes.
Dude, beast.
What Oklahoma is to quarterbacks, Ohio State is with pass rushers.
Dude, he's better than Bosa's. I think he's better than either Bosa.
Yeah.
I think he's elite, man.
He is.
I wouldn't be shocked if somebody offers them a pick haul to get up to 2 just so they could take him. Because there are very few pass rushers with his quality. I think he is a great prospect. He's probably top 3 of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
If not top 2. Like he is a legit beast. And he is good. They call him the Predator because of the dreads. He's good, man. I can't wait to get into him and the top 10. We'll get into some stuff this year with his. He's the best pass rusher in this draft. He might have been the best pass rusher in last year's draft. It was him and Bosa. It probably would have been close anyway. I think he's better. I think he's more athletic than Bosa. I think the Bosa brothers though have a lot more technique to their game. But yeah, Chase Young. I think you lock that in. They do need to get some weapons though, right? Like they have some needs. This is a team. They got actually amazingly they had a good O-line coach who ended up being the head coach, Bryce Callahan, right?
Yeah.
I like what they did with Eric Flowers. They made him perform very well. He actually performed serviceable as a left guard. He was actually one of the best guys playing last year for them.
Another great pick by the New York Giants. Fucking Eric Flowers.
I tell you. I also didn't hate Haskins and how he played last year, right? So you kind of have to.
It was really hard for him to do well considering
He had one receiver.
Yeah, no offensive line. Who? He had Jay Gruden, who's not the best head coach,
And
to
didn't
begin
want
with.
him.
Yeah, and then he got
Supposedly.
cut, and then he was stuck with the intern for most of his year. So he played well, all things considered.
End of his last 2 or 3 games, you saw him come on, and this is what people wanted to anoint who was the best quarterback in last year's draft, outside of Kyler Murray. And to be honest, he played well at the end of the year, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Dwayne Haskins can do. I love Terry McLaurin. I've been a Terry McLaurin stan since the draft last year. I was sad to see him go to the Washington Redskins because I don't care much for this organization. And I wanted to see him go to a place where he can be the successful guy. And I guess he is the most successful guy on that offense. They draft a lot of good guys, right? They have Darius Geis. Hopefully he comes back and finally get to be healthy, go into a year healthy. He's a good baller. I think he's one of my favorite running backs. I follow him on Twitter. He plays a lot of Fortnite. Go ahead, play Fortnite with him. He's a good downhill runner, can catch the ball as well, very well. Again, I think a lot of those moves clear up your they have Landon Collins at safety. They need free safety, right? They didn't get to keep Clinton Dix. They need somebody to match up with Landon Collins. Landon Collins, a lot like Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams plays a little bit more everywhere and is better in coverage, but a lot more strong safety guy than free safety. They need a free safety to match up with him. There's going to be a couple guys like that in this draft. Xavier McKinney might fall that second-round spot, or they could trade up and grab. Oh, no, wait. They don't have a second-round pick this year because they traded it to get Montez Sweat last year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they traded up with, I think it was the Colts. Not the Colts. Not those guys wear robes. The Colts, the horsies.
Ones that killed Andrew Luck's career.
Exactly, because they didn't have an O-line. That's a team that is going to be an exciting one to talk about coming into this offseason. I like the Ron Rivera hiring. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. They have that D-line is legit.
Yeah.
That's going to be a team that they're going to play a lot of zone coverage. Like you're saying, they have Jack Del Rio, a guy who knows how to kind of do a lot of multiple fronts.
Have as you said before, they have Montez Sweat, and they also have Jonathan Allen,
Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis. They have who's the other pass rusher they have? Outside linebacker, not Ryan Anderson, Ryan Kerrigan. Just it's a legit team as far as the defensive line goes and pass rushers go. That doesn't mean they could skip out on Chase Young. You got to get Chase Young. That is a generational talent. That is a blue chip player. You got to take him. So, I think it's going to be a team that will bounce back a little bit. Will have some success under Ron Rivera, even if Dwayne Haskins doesn't take a big leap next year. If they get Trent Williams back in the building or trade him and get a pick, if they spend wisely, maybe get another free agent receiver, right? Give Dwayne Haskins somebody to throw to. Draft a receiver, because he does need somebody else to go with Terry McLaurin. He's losing, he's probably not going to have Jordan Reed. He's probably going to retire or be cut. Yeah. Vernon Davis is going into free agency. Chris Thompson's going into free agency. Yeah. They have to re-sign Chris Thompson or let him go, do whatever with him. Yeah, they're going into free agency. A lot of weapons issues, a lot of offensive issues. Defense, man, that's an exciting defense, I think, going forward. So, any thoughts left on the Washington Redskins?
I really covered all the bases for me.
Well, they have a couple of guys that are potentially. They have Colt McCoy still on the roster, and Case Keenum's going into free agency.
Okay, Keenum, he'd be a good backup for somebody who, like I said, as I mentioned, the Jets need a backup, just someone who could play somewhat serviceable in case something happens with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he's a guy who is a team that needs that Case Keenum vibe. I'm trying to think. Honestly, it would have been the Redskins.
I was gonna say the Minnesota Vikings, but they won last week, so that joke wouldn't have worked.
Right? Oh yeah, the team that he helped them beat too.
The Saints.
The Patriots.
Oh. If he goes to the Pats, he's going to win a Super Bowl.
right?
Yeah.
Dude, that would be amazing.
It would
Case
be.
Keenum to go from where he went to all of a sudden, imagine he's like the QB for the Patriots on like a $10 million deal.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, one where else I think you could see him fit, maybe send him to a Cincinnati to start the first couple of games if they get rid of Andy Dalton.
I like
and
that.
as and just give Joe Burrow some time to sit on the bench. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'm a big fan of young quarterbacks just sitting on the bench for a year. Just
You're not going to get the full year, but I do like it when you give them time, right?
Yeah.
You saw it. I think that helped with Baker Mayfield.
Patrick Mahomes.
Even when Sam Darnold got injured and they put McCown in, when Josh Allen got injured and they put Peterman in, those guys when they came back, and understanding the run up, the prep, the how you get into an NFL game and how you get ready going into an NFL week, seeing that Baker had Tyrod, Mahomes had Alex Smith. None of the Case Keenum's not going to be so good that he's going to go ahead and bridge long enough for a whole year. He's just not, because you're going to be in a point where you have to play the guy you draft, especially Burrow. You draft number 1 overall. You got to play him eventually.
Yeah.
But I think it might give him a chance for a run-up, like a running head start, right? Like they might not think they are ready for next year. So you get Case Keenum in the building, and you get Joe Burrow, and you trade Andy Dalton, who's going to be way bigger of a contract, $18 million. Oh, actually, cheapest contract on the team. I could see them trading him, and somebody's going to want to pick for him.
Yeah.
$17 million, one of the cheapest contracts for a quarterback. Somebody, who do you think's going to trade for him?
New England.
New England?
I'm thinking Brady's going to
The
be
Bears.
That's actually may not be. Actually, yeah, that's be a good destination for him because he's an upgrade from Trubisky.
Also, another team that might want to Case Keenum might want to look at too.
Well, true.
Because that's a team that screams like the Titans this year, right? Where they went ahead and they got Tannehill, and they also had Mariota.
Mariota sucks, so they put Tannehill and end up taking him to the playoffs and beating New England in the first round.
I think this is one of those situations where we're going to see a team that's going to take somebody in as a backup, a high-end backup, guy who's going to make an assessment, right? His agent's going to say, listen, you got a shot here. You can either go to the big team, right, be a backup, kind of like what Teddy Bridgewater does right now, or you can go to a team, kind of a crappy situation, right, kind of like what Tannehill did. Which one do you want to do? And either you want to go to the team where you have the chance of being the future starter, like the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Maybe if Brady's even back, he goes ahead and goes be a backup on the Patriots. Like that might be a great thing. Even if Brady's back next year, imagine if Case Keenum goes and learns that system.
Oh my God!
Because we've seen him be a good starter. That's perfect system for him too. By the way, he learns how to do that system. We were talking about Case Keenum, Super Bowl MVP. I think
the new GOAT.
There we go. Case Keenum, Patriots, hero. King. All right. So, what's another thing? Any guys that you were very hyped for coming into the draft this year?
Coming into the draft, I did. I'm gonna go with the guy I mentioned before, Jalen Hurts. I could see him like.
What team do you see him going to? Because we talked quarterbacks last time.
It's not gonna be he's gonna be like late first round. I could see somebody.
The Saints.
Saints. Actually, that might be a good pick for him.
Patriots. Everybody's gonna click the Patriots when it comes to quarterback.
I'm not the Patriots.
I don't know. I could see Belichick being like, I want an athletic QB, something I've never had before.
True. Maybe Chicago. Maybe they may cut their losses with Mitch Trubisky and then take.
I don't buy it. That team is not that smart.
Okay, that is true. Good point.
That team is not that smart.
Good point.
They lucked into what they got, and that's kind of the sad thing.
Maybe if Dak Prescott decides not to come back to Dallas, maybe I could see him going to Dallas. That's possible.
True.
Because they just signed Zeke, and so you don't know what's going through Dak's head. Maybe Case
Keenum to Dallas would be an interesting one too.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe Case Keenum and Jalen Hurts to Dallas.
Or
possible.
Carolina Panthers.
Jalen Hurts. That makes perfect sense, honestly.
Carolina Panthers draft first round, draft like best guy available, and then they spend like the second round pick. Or I think that's a team that might do. I can't wait to go into the Panthers on this stuff, man. You guys, this is gonna be a fun off season. A lot of interesting teams. We're finally gonna have some of the head coaching hires down and pat. 2020, man. It is. It's gonna be a fun year. All right, so you can follow the podcast at Draftvice. You can follow it on Instagram at Draftvice_football. On Twitter, everything else at Draftvice. You can follow Harry at Harry Van Ness, Harry. Why, I have no clue. Van, as in the car, Ness, Ness, like that guy who you played on Super Smash Brothers, who had another video game that nobody remembers.
Yep.
I love that game.
Earthbound.
Yes. Oh, I played that too.
I have that on my Super Nintendo. I just never play it.
Dude, it was like Pokemon, but different.
It was like
It was
scary
the same
Pokemon,
fighting.
right?
Yeah, it was the same. Like I remember that game. But I remember playing it, and then I remember playing Super Smash Brothers, and I had no clue that Ness was the guy from like Earthbound. Like people were telling me that. I'm like, oh, I played that game when I was a kid. I was a kid when Super Smash Brothers came out too. But, dude, and you can follow me at Brojo Death Punch. That's BROJO. Death is in the end of life. Punch.
What Ray Rice does to women.
It's true. It's true. Just to his wife, though.
True.
When they were dating. Now, Greg Hardy, on the other hand, he likes to punch everybody.
Yep.
That's why he's in the UFC now.
I love how the UFC just gave him a contract for being a woman beater. That's not good motivation. Does not set a good example.
Well, it's Dana White. He doesn't care about examples. He cares about ratings.
True.
He barely even cares about that anymore because ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
They're a big deal. Yeah.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
About the past and about the future.